I just love it when I read something, and like it can be just a statement or a line, and kind of it just jumps out in front of me, and I just go,
Mm.
wow,
Hmm.
okay. And then you kind of start thinking about it. And
Yeah.
so pre-starting today's recording, Elle, we were both sharing how
Hmm.
actually amazingly we've
We,
both recently come across a very, very similar
yes.
sentence in our own separate worlds, similar but different,
Yeah.
that's had us stop
Yeah.
and think. And we would love to bring it to the conversation today. And we don't have a clue how today's conversation's gonna go.
Yeah, there's no
It's a bit
agenda.
of
It's just interesting. It's just a curious
mm,
space. Mm.
yes, and yeah. And so the line I read that I came across that definitely had me stopped in my tracks is this: everyone needs to feel important.
Mm.
And I thought, oh,
Mm.
really? And I've reflected on it, and I'd
Mm.
love a conversation around this. And your line, Ellie, what was the one that you
Sure.
saw?
Mine was everyone needs to be seen. And
Yeah,
I read that and thought, huh, yes, I think I agree with that. So that's, and I was like, and
yeah,
I thought about my world and I thought about, myself and my life. I thought, okay, that's interesting. Everyone. And when you talk about the word everyone, I'm like, really? Everyone? But that was the statement. Everyone needs to be seen. And so yours was everyone needs to feel important. Hmm.
yeah. And it's interesting because this also brings up for me how language can be so nuanced.
Mm.
So you might be listening and go, well, isn't that the same thing?
Mm.
Everyone needs to be seen, everyone needs to, feel important or feel seen. And absolutely, it could mean exactly the same thing.
Mm.
And I think in many ways it does. And yet, the
Mm.
language of, well, for me, and you were sharing too, everybody needs
Yeah.
to feel seen sits a bit more comfortably
Then
than the
the word
language of
important.
importance. I'm like, what? Do I really need to feel important? Like, really?
Because the word important can bring up lots of different thoughts or emotions based on our life. And instantly, I think about the word, and they're completely not the same. But for me, when you think about someone who thinks that they're important, arrogance comes up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be arrogant, but it's just interesting the language that we use. So that's something that comes up for me. And so when you said it
You
to
spot
me,
on. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly my response as well. And it's interesting because everybody needs to feel seen. Feeling seen, that word doesn't link in my
mm,
mind. There's no link to arrogance. But you're
mm,
spot on there. Like for me, the importance, the need to be important, or need to feel important.
mm,
Immediately my brain went to, I don't think that's true for me. And but actually it
mm,
is.
it is important.
It is. I mean, just this week, I was sharing with somebody that I haven't had that much feedback in one of the roles I have
Okay.
I do a few things in my workplace, and one of the roles I have, because there hasn't been much feedback, I
Mm,
allowed my head to go down this pathway of, oh my gosh, am I even, good enough and, doing the job well
mm-hmm,
enough? And I even said to my husband the other day, oh, I wonder, if the person's going to come to me soon and say, look, this is not working, you
mm-hmm,
know?
mm-hmm.
And part of it is that need to feel seen or to feel validated, maybe is another word,
Yeah, that is a word.
or
Mm-hmm.
to feel like the reason I'm there actually does carry weight and is
Mm,
of value and is
mm,
important.
mm.
Because if it isn't, then like,
Are we
why bother?
wasting, are we wasting our time?
Yeah. Yeah. But what's
Interesting.
also interesting for me is what's come up is if this is true,
Mm-hmm.
that everyone needs to feel important
Mm.
or everyone needs to feel seen, what is my role in letting other people know
Mm,
that who they are in my world is important and of value and that I see them.
yeah. And as you say that, I this space is much more comfortable for me. I'm like, yeah,
Shoe on the
because
other foot, yes.
yeah, because 100% I want people in my world to know they are important. They are seen. And I believe as a mum, as a wife, as a friend, as a chaplain, as a coach, whatever space I'm in at the time or all however many hats on at the same time, I feel like that's part of my responsibility to show that and to help people to experience that.
Absolutely. And just as I'm hearing you, I'm also just reminded that there's back in South Africa, there's one of the African greetings
Sure.
is the way we're going to is the word Sawubona. And the
Mm.
word Sawubona, it's a greeting. Like we'd go, "Good day, mate," in Australia.
I love your
Or
Aussie accent there, Kath. So
or
authentic.
or hi or whatever. Like, these people would say Sawubona, but the
Mm.
translation of Sawubona is I see you.
Yeah,
It's like not only just hello, but hello, I see you.
that's beautiful.
And it is beautiful. And but isn't it interesting? I don't know how you feel about talking about this more on our podcast, but the the difference in, and I could see it on your face, like your way of feeling absolutely comfortable with wanting people in your
Mm.
world to know this
Mm.
about themselves and to feel seen,
Mm.
and yet quite uncomfortable about what
Mm.
that means for you as an individual.
Mm.
As yeah, so talk me through this, Al. You're going,
Really?
no, don't go there.
It's just easier, right? For me, the people in my world that I have the privilege of doing life with, I do honestly want them to know that they are important and seen. And I
Mm,
think it's because I I want them to know that their life, yeah, that they have a purpose and that their life is worth it. And not just by me, but by everything that anyone that they come in contact with. Um, it's just maybe I know that my purpose in life is to encourage others. Like
yeah,
I know it
yeah,
doesn't matter what I do, how that looks in my day to day. I have learnt in the last 10 years or so, my purpose is to get alongside people and encourage people. I know that.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I think that's why this is a nice, easy space because it's easy for me to get alongside and encourage somebody else
yeah.
then potentially do that for myself. And so that's why it's a little bit uncomfortable for me. I know it to be true. We do want to be, need to be seen. I think we need to be seen.
Well, I think that's, one of the things we learned in our coaching space was around the fact that as humans, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or literate or illiterate
Mhm.
or what country you came from or what nationality or culture, doesn't matter, we've all got these six
Core
needs, and one of the
needs.
needs was the need to feel significant, and I think
Mm.
the need for significance is the same as the need to be seen, it's the same as the need to feel important.
Yes.
And knowing that, well, what if our belief, we spoke about beliefs last week, but what if a
Mm.
belief is, well, that's how God created us.
Mm.
And if he created within each individual the need to feel significant,
Mm.
then I want to believe that there's wisdom in that.
Yeah.
God didn't just decide that because, I don't know, like he thought it would be fun. I
It'd
think
be
there's
fun. A great
wisdom in
game.
wisdom in the fact that, of course, we've all been created with this need, with this yearning, with this longing,
Yeah.
because I think it also stirs up a desire to want to
Mm.
um, pour into others as well, and to want to live a life that has value and worth and purpose and matters.
Agreed. That
Yeah,
you've beautifully summed that up. Because if we didn't think things mattered, if we didn't feel like we had anything to offer or give, then what would be the point? So it feels like
yeah,
that's the part that helps to motivate us to live the life that perhaps we've been called to live. Um,
yeah.
eh,
So just a moment into like transitioning again into the discomfort of
okay.
when that's directed at ourselves or at you or at me, because it's not a comfortable space for me. So, um, if we don't feel like if you're thinking, oh, I don't need to feel important,
Mm,
like, nah, that's not me.
mm,
Um, in my mind, it almost flips to the opposite, which is the same old story that keeps coming up, like, oh, I'm not enough.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not enough. And sometimes the sense of, oh, I'm not enough, or um, no, 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 you have it because you're important. I'll go without, because I'm less than or whatever.
Mm,
Um, it's an interesting space to be because sometimes it can feel like, but that's being kind and humble and but
mm,
it's weird how we sometimes distort. I don't know. I feel like there's this whole distorted space
mm,
where we've misunderstood, um, as you say, that what is feelings important or seen look like when there's humility attached, when it's
yeah.
not an arrogant thing.
Mm,
And and bec- what's the problem in showing up with this attitude of, oh, but I'm less than and not
mm.
enough, and
Yeah. Instantly for me, if I'm imagining or thinking about showing up with the thought of I'm not enough, I'm less than, others are more important, all of those sorts of things, I feel our state and how we show up in our everyday. Like I'm a visual person and I sort of
yes,
imagine sort of being a little bit hunched over, eye contact not as well, not giving things as much of a go. I've spent a lot of, and I think this is why it's a little bit uncomfortable for me, for whatever reason, spent a lot of my life battling. And it's certainly not something that people go, oh, wow, this is something that only Ali's gone through. I think everybody can relate to it to some degree of
yes,
that whole belief of I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes.
yeah,
I'm not enough. And so I think that's why it's a bit uncomfortable because I've been working on that belief it feels like my whole life. And then to go to suddenly realize, hey, this thing that you've read, this statement, everyone needs to be important or feel important, it's kind of the opposite. It's done
yeah.
this tension, this wrestle within me. And I think it's true. And so I don't even know where I was going with that.
Well, it ties into what we were talking about. I think it was 2 episodes back around beliefs, and
Yes.
changing beliefs. And I think this is
Yeah.
a perfect example of we can believe, oh, I'm
True.
not enough. And here we come along, and now there's this other belief that sits alongside it, and the belief that,
Yeah.
oh, but everybody needs to feel important. And that's
Mm.
also true. And
Mm.
now we're going, hang on a minute, there's this that's true, and there's that's true. But they are like feel like they're polar opposites. So how
Mm.
can this be? You know?
Mm. One thing that I really like is because we don't want to be alone. We don't want to think we're the only one that has these certain needs or whatever. The
Yeah.
realization that, hey, as human beings, we all need to feel seen and feel important. There's some comfort in knowing that that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
There's something
And I mean,
nice
if you
about
think
that.
about your children, I've always liked, like Joyce Meyer often will say, well, if this was one of your kids, and then, she gives an
Yeah,
example of,
100%.
so if
Mm.
you think of any of your children,
Yes.
and you're speaking life into them and you're sharing with them how you see them and how they're important, and then their whole face beams and their whole person lights up. I mean, there's something beautiful about that,
Yes.
and look, it's usually, I also get, I mean, there's a flip side for all these things, and So it's not sort of puffing somebody up that's not true, like saying,
No.
oh, you're so, I don't know what the word, I don't know, like what's an example? You're so
Uh,
clever, you're so brilliant. In the meantime,
you're
you've now
so
gone and,
awesome. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I mean, but when you're really calling out something that you see in somebody that
Yeah.
is special, that's unique, and maybe it's even like a determination to push through a struggle or to overcome something
Mm,
really hard and challenging. Um, and then you just see on that person's face the appreciation that actually you've seen the struggle, you've seen the overcoming, you've seen the,
mm,
like what that does for another human being is just
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's funny how with a lot of these things, there's always the distortions and there's always the school of thought of, well, but it's not good to just keep telling everybody how great they are because it's
Yeah.
not true, or it's going to lead to arrogance or whatever. So
Yeah, like
I think
puffing
there's that.
someone's head up so big so they
Yeah,
can't fit into a room anymore through the doorway.
yeah,
But here's the thing, and if we think back, you mentioned before about our core needs and how one of the core needs is for the need of significance. Here's what we know in this space. If we are not meeting those needs on a level that's being intentional and resourceful, people will go about it and meet that need in unresourceful ways, potentially unhealthy
spot on.
ways. And so yes, it can feel uncomfortable to think, oh, do I need to feel like I'm important? Um, I think human nature, if we're to look at the world around us, it's easy now to spot, oh, okay, that person's behaving in that way because they're trying to meet
Yeah,
that need of
yeah,
significance, but it's in an
yeah,
unresourceful way because we meet our needs whether we plan for it or not. What's the saying in coaching? It's like a vacuum and we meet them.
we will
What did
meet
we
them.
say?
Yeah, yeah, you
Needs
so
needs trump values. So we do things,
yeah,
we act in ways that are outside of our character because we have a need, a core need.
yeah. You're spot on there. So I suppose the big question is, so what does it look like to meet this need of needing to feel significant, important, seen
Mm.
in a way that
Mm.
aligns with your values?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Hmm. So, what does that look like? So, if we were to think about it, being responsible for ourselves, responsible for our behavior, I suppose,
yeah,
is one way. Because, I mean, we can sit and blame and sit and hide behind things and point fingers in life. But if we take responsibility and own our life, that's
yeah.
something. I'm just trying to think. Sorry.
And I mean, it's going to be easier to take responsibility and own up for things when you actually value yourself.
Yeah.
When you feel like, I'm important enough to actually own this and to actually take responsibility for this
Mm,
because I want to be better than, whatever.
mm,
So I absolutely agree with that.
mm.
And I think it will look different for everybody.
Different people.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it was a huge step for me in the personal growth space to even embrace this notion that I give myself permission to understand that I have this need.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have this need, and there is
Mm,
a way to meet this need in a way that still is values aligned. And
mm.
um, and for me, it's part of my faith journey as well. I think it aligns. I think the way I've embraced this need to feel significant is, well, God created me, so there must be a reason He loves me. So in His eyes, I'm significant and
Mm,
seen and valued.
mm.
And therefore, um, what's interesting is therefore I don't need to strive for this anymore.
Correct.
So quite often, people that you meet that don't seem to have a need, it's
Mm,
not like they don't have the need. It's they're
mm.
probably meeting a need in a resourceful way. So their actions are not sort of screaming, I
I
need
need
this, give it,
significance. Yeah.
and it's unresourceful. Yeah. So that's one way I think of meeting that need that it doesn't necessarily mean you think you're better than anybody else. It's not
No,
about that at
because
all.
that's not the statement. It's not,
No.
everyone needs to feel like they're better than anybody. There's nothing about comparing ourselves. There's nothing about being, yeah, better than, worse than, any of that.
Yep.
It's simply need to feel important. We need to feel that we
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Need to feel seen. And I love that you brought this to the table. And it's just fascinating to me that we both read these kind of statements in the last week. And for me, I think it's a really big reminder, A, that if we're trying to meet that need, that is perfectly normal. And
Yeah.
of course, we should meet that need, but also to remind us that that's the position we also want to play in the world of people around us. If
Yeah.
everybody needs to feel important and to be seen, then we're part of a community and it's part of our
Yes.
job, not really a job, it's part of our responsibility as being a fellow human to do that for people in our world around us.
Yeah. I
And
completely
how
agree. Yeah.
beautiful to be in. I've had a conversation very recently with someone who said, "Oh, but I'm just a junkie," and I'm like,